I forgot to post the update from last week, so I'll just update both of them today. But yeah, today is provisioning employees, and we also have a pretty cool announcement if for those of you who haven't seen it yet, and I'll get to that later on in the session. So you have to hang on for the special announcement. Some really cool things happening. But provisioning employees is something that I feel passionately about. It's one of those weird administrative items that Adam Walter really cares about because it's done so poorly, and I am awful at it. And when it comes to provisioning employees, when you're running an engineering group, whether it's in an MSP or in a corporation, the difficult thing is who do you hire and when? And the answer is, I don't know. Because you want to run your employees as efficiently as possible. And you've got to like look in a magic crystal ball and decide when is work going to be available and what skill sets do you need for that. And if you want the best advice possible on the topic, read any of the Traction books. Just pick one up and read through any of the chapters on right person, right seat, wrong person, wrong seat.
Those are really enlightening. You read through those, and that was an unfortunate discovery. Very much of I didn't get a lot of the formal business education. I really, the School of Hard Knocks things, whatever, old guy story, insert that here. But the epiphany of me personally moving through things and realizing that I might be in roles that I liked, but that wasn't the right role for me, and understanding my team and, quit trying to get my team into seats that they don't belong. It's complex, but understanding the right seat and the right role for that. What's the other one in Traction? The three-letter deal.
GWO or GWC.
Gets it, wants it, and has capacity. I think there's another one in there. But
yeah, the big one.
Yeah.
So when it comes to provisioning, you're really looking for like, does your employee get it? Do they want it? They have capacity for it. And so when it comes to provisioning, it's the same rules. Like you look at your employee, they may get it, want it, capacity for it. Thank you, Richard.
Yes.
They may be able to do it. For instance, I can balance a budget and I can manage cash flow, but I don't want it.
Yeah,
at all.
That's it.
And so it will always float to the bottom of my priority list.
Mm-hmm.
There are things that I have the ability to do that I don't want. I get the importance of cash flow management. I understand what needs to be done. I just don't want to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's important to distinguish, especially with your engineers. You may have an engineer who's great with Cisco. They just don't like to do it because it's boring. They like to work with people. And you've got to think in those three terms. And that's the cheap. If you're not a Traction person, figure those three out. You can Google them and you can extrapolate as much as you want. You can get it, want GWC.
Yeah.
The other thing to do is when you're using roadmaps in the tool. So use our roadmap tool to figure out who is going to do what when. And so when you're walking down the list, you're saying, hey, Skip's going to rebuild the firewall for this client in the first week of June. And so you tap on the roadmap, you put it on there, and you assign Skip to it. Great. Now what's he going to do? So with our road mapping tool, we tell people just put the large projects down. So what's the theme for them for that week? And so as long as they GWC it and you assign it to them in the roadmap in the tool, you should be good. And if you get really good at this, you should be able to plan out about 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
You'll start to see patterns. And if you see patterns in your, like when things are climbing up, you're doing a lot of projects, and then you go down to the valley where what we call planning stage, where the projects are low and the opportunity to plan the next cycle is high. And that is your cadence. And then you'll be able to assign more. What you don't want to do is put too much in one area. So max capacity, depending on who you're following, for an engineer is like 80%.
Yeah.
I mean, that's an engineer that is very mature, who has been with your organization for a while. They can hit 80% capacity, with 20% being downtime, planning, and vacations. So
Yeah.
you want to really hit that. If you get over that, you're burning your employee out. You will lose them.
Yeah. And on that, so that brings up another subject that, is probably pretty high priority in a lot of your businesses. And that's ticketing, and tracking time. And I've kind of seen this all over the board. And I guess my caution is here to be careful. We need the ticketing systems. We need to track stuff. That's obviously very, very important. But you can also wear your staff out with time tracking. And I've seen some fantastic numbers from MSPs and amazing detail, but here's the outside view on that. Once I get in a little bit, I think the value in that is a lot less, because what they're doing is not necessarily what they're doing. All right. They're not engaged the way they need to be to do that. And anyway, I'm going to be vague about it because it is unique and varied within each MSP. But that 80% rule, I think, is a pretty good one. Everyone's going to fall, one way or the other on that, but that's a good place to start if you're looking for that percentage.
Yeah, I know some people have told me percentages like, what's billable time percentage, like 40%. And there are people who can speak on that more. If people want me to bring in a speaker to talk about like what's billable time efficiencies, I can bring in some speakers for one of our webinars for that. It might be a new topic to talk about in the future. But provisioning employees can be hard, but you have to think about it correctly. Otherwise, you're going to end up with a group of people who really don't care. And you're going to end up with an organization that is over provisioned. And you're going to end up with and over provisioning means you're always going to be behind on projects. You are over provisioned on engineers if you're always putting out fires. If you're in firefighting mode, what we in engineering we call firefighting mode, you are over provisioned. That means you don't have enough people planning and you have everybody working operations.
Right.
That is a great indicator that you need to be talking to a traction expert or some kind of business building mentor, like get into one of the peer groups in your area to talk through how to more efficiently manage your personnel. And when Skip was talking there, it's talking about like time tracking. Does that solve the problem? No. Does it add visibility to the problem? Kind of.
Maybe.
Time tracking, in my opinion, is good for one thing, and that's billable hours. Once you're done with billable hours, you move on. Even then, when I was doing VCIO work, I never did billable hours. I did retainers. And then I managed my employees via retainer, and it was a much simpler calculation. So when it comes to time tracking in the corporate world, we always had a joke like, what's the time code for tracking time?
Yeah.
Because we spent so much time doing it. Like it was a half an hour a day that I would spend tracking my time just so the bean counters downtown could figure out when to hire engineers next. But it didn't matter because my time never translates to another engineer's time. I was a tier 3 engineer or a tier 2 engineer. Maybe I was a tier 3 network engineer, but I was a tier 1 desktop engineer. My time did not translate directly over to an employee. So that's why I'm a big fan of retainers versus billable hours. And that's a personality thing. That is my management style. If I came into your MSP and said, run my MSP, I say, I will bill everybody on a retainer. You get as many hours, use it or lose it. And that way I can capacity plan better because I know the number of contracts I have become the number of engineers I need.
And I think that's an interesting twist on this, in being really detailed in your time tracking, you're going to reap a lot of really good data. All right. And it's really good for understanding which contracts are more profitable. Obviously we don't know which contracts are underwater. We need to fire this client. There's a lot of great benefit to this very detailed time tracking, but it comes as a cost. Don't fool yourself that you're going to track this timing and just simply get all this value. You're going to pay for that value. All right. And you have to decide as an organization, do I want to pay for the value of the data, or do I want to shift some of that effort, that focus, that energy? I'm kind of skirting around the word time there, but do I want to divert some of that into more operational stuff? Do I want it, opportunity for the team to be more creative, to work on different things? So there's a shift there, and you invest in other things. So a bit of a tangent on here. I'm not sure how we ended up this spot, but the time tracking is an interesting element. And but to circle this back around, you will get better utilization of your staff if they get it, they want it, and then you can really start focusing on, do they have the capacity?
So this is how I suggest you do provisioning of employees. So once you have GWC'd all your current employees, they all know they're doing what they want. They have the capacity to do it. And they have a drive for it. Once you've got that on your existing employees, ask your existing employees what they want to offload. So Adam Walter is not really a big fan of social media management. I don't like doing it. Looking at hiring an intern this summer. Anybody got a good marketing intern they want to throw my way?
Yeah.
And I've got hundreds of videos I'm trying to push over to YouTube so you guys can watch them. I don't want to do it. I don't want to sit down with Adobe Premiere and re-edit things, upload them, add cards, add ending titles and stuff like that. But I know a lot of high schoolers who would. They would kill for that job.
Yeah.
Not walking beans, not walking corn this summer, not flipping burgers. They get to sit and play on a computer and social media all day. Score. So they want it and they want to do it and they have a capacity for it. And I don't want to do it. So now I know when I go out and find a new role and responsibility that I look for somebody who gets it, wants it, and has the capacity to do it. And that could be a high schooler earning $12 an hour doing something that I was doing for $50 an hour. And that is how you provision and you find roles and responsibilities that are key. So you have an engineer who doesn't like Cisco, says, I really want to offload this. So poll your team and say, if we hired somebody, what would you like to get rid of? And your engineers will say, I don't want to do PC deployments anymore. Cool. I'm going to hire a desktop engineer. It's going to take these clients off your table. And you can look at those clients and say how much those clients worth. And then you can follow that rabbit trail. Go find your accountant and let them walk you down it. Now, what this does is it has a secondary effect. And it's called employer of choice. There's nothing wrong with my Nerf dart. The employer of choice is something, I don't know how many people out there have heard this. And an employer of choice is a place that people work at because they want to, not just for a paycheck. An employer of choice is where somebody goes, people like, hey, you should come work for me. Like, no, I love my job. I love where I'm working. I'm not moving, even if you give me a raise. That's an employer of choice. People are looking to come to you. And so you can look at these in your town, and there are different employees have kind of gotten known for they're a really cool place to work. In Silicon Valley and in like Seattle, there's a huge battle over engineers and making the coolest place to work. And that is what you want to be. Not necessarily cool, but if you're known for putting people in seats that they get, and they're a cultural fit for you, and they're doing the things that they love, people are like, they're so happy. Now they brag about their workplace. Oh, you don't have to do timesheets? No, we're retainer only because everybody hated timesheets. We got rid of them. It saved us a bunch of time, and we moved forward. You don't have to do this thing. No, we have a team that does that. They're really good at it and they love it. And so that's called an employer of choice. And you do that by offloading the crap tasks onto people who want the crap tasks. Guaranteed, every job out there, there's somebody who wants to do it. Always and forever. You just you can't think that everybody's going to be like you. Like, I know people who would love to do social media management. Not my bag. I also know people who would love to do cash flow management for me. I hire them and they go in and they have the best day ever doing my cash flow management. I think there's something wrong with their brains. I think they're broken, but they're
work.
broken in a way that benefits me.
Yeah.
Some people in IT love working with VoIP. I don't know what's wrong with you people. There's something wrong with your brains.
Yep.
In my opinion, I want to sit in meetings and I want to talk to people about strategy all day. And there are a number of you engineers thinking in horror, you want to be in meetings all day? Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoy talking to people all day and running and managing meetings. It is my strength. It is something I do well. But that's how you become employer of choice. Provisioning, looking at your roadmap and looking at the tasks there, assigning them, and then asking your engineers, which of these would you like to offload? Which ones do you not look forward to every day? Put those into a groupings and then hire people who love those things. And now you've got an engineer over here who is loving their job because they're only working on things that they're excited about. And then you've got a new engineer coming in over here who's excited because they left a crappy old job where they had to do all these other things. And now they are working on things they love, like telephony.
It gets me every time. So this idea of, provisioning your, our topic for today, provisioning, it really does come down to provisioning correctly. It's not just a matter of, hey, we need X amount of hours for this or that. It's understanding how we're going to get the best out of our teams. There is a spot on our tool where we talk about these client engagement roles. And a lot of you may have seen this little matrix that comes up. I think this is great. And one of the super values of this is there's a flip side to this. And we talk about what our clients need. And we've talked about this many times before, but one of the exercises that we used to do, we used to have this old master class. It had some ridiculously long name. But one of the exercises we would do is I would tell people to take this graphic and we went old school and we ran Microsoft Paint, and so we bring it up and I'd have people draw this blob into these squares. And I say, where do you feel you operate naturally? What is your strong suit? Because the idea is we look lots of times at our teams and we try to put them into buckets. And that helps, with the org chart or, just figuring out what we're going to do sometimes. But we have to realize that, especially when we have smaller teams, that those buckets are going to overlap in many ways. And so really understanding what the strong suits of your team members are will then help you line up who needs to be engaging on specific client engagements. So this provisioning goes a lot deeper than just, putting things on a calendar, although that's probably one of the best places to start. You really need to understand how you're going to bring this together so that your team is going to be most effective. The last thing you want is to assign a major project, to plan it out with the clients, to get buy-in, to set expectations, and then roll out the wrong resource to do something, which is going to create delays. There's going to be a lot of confusion. It's just going to, make the wheels fall off the process altogether. So 2 steps. Adam mentioned the project roadmap. I do feel that is a great tool for you guys to get these up there. You've probably heard my wordsmithing on this. We're not a project management tool. We're a project planning tool. And that roadmap will let you plan this out, set expectations with your clients, set expectations with your teams, and really track your progress through that. And when you do that, provisioning becomes much, much simpler. We don't like to do it, and account managers, especially those that are, really working off commission and driven it, if they sell a project, they want it done tomorrow, right? But the ability to say, we can get to this project next month and give a date, I think while it could be a harder, maybe a slightly uncomfortable conversation up front because you want to start work right away, you're going to come out of that long-term much, much better if you set an expected date, start on time, communicate well, have all your resources in line, make that experience very smooth, because at the end, the client's going to be really happy, as opposed to a very frustrating process when you try to just cram something in at the last minute.
Yeah. Doing the the forecasting and setting expectations really does help a lot. And that is how you get the right people assigned to the right tasks. You can take one engineer and you can plan them out for 3 years. Your clients may not like that, but at least the expectation to say, yeah, we can't get to that till 2023. And people are kind of learning this lesson right now, because supply chain sucks so bad. Like, I'm trying to order more t-shirts and it's like 3-4 months out. I'm like, oh my gosh, what the heck? This is just the normal world we're in now. So what we want to do is set those expectations, figure out how to use your roadmaps appropriately so you can hire the right employees for the surges. Over time, you can look back and think, oh my gosh, we have a lot of projects happen every April. Well, maybe you need to spread those out a little bit more so you can provision your employees a little bit smarter. Instead of trying to be the hero all at once, spread it out. Be a little bit smoother. Set the expectations and lower the stress of your engineers and your employees so that you can now have a nice flow. So you're putting the project with the employees that care about it. So that's my 20-minute breakdown of how to provision employees. And I love talking about this topic. If any of you have issues with this, feel free to reach out to me. I love talking about it. If you're like, hey, I've got this situation going on, how do I handle it? Right now, everybody's kind of pressed for employees. It's really hard to hire right now because the market has kind of gotten upended last year. They are out there, but you have to be an employer of choice. You have to figure out how you're going to move forward and how you're going to attract the people to your organization. And you do that by getting known for being the person who's going to give them tasks that they want and offloading tasks they don't. And that's a hard thing to do as a manager. Not saying it's easy. I'm not saying there's a one size fits all here. I'm saying be aware of the problem, be aware of how to shift things around. You'll be okay. So the last thing I want to talk about today, you'll see an announcement come out here. So those of you who are ConnectWise members, we did get accepted into Pitch It. So managed services platform is part of something larger called Humanize IT. And we will be competing in Pitch It with ConnectWise with several other companies. And we'll be looking for feedback from you guys over the next 16 weeks as we build something really cool. Nothing much will change for you guys other than the fact that the product is slowly going to get better and better and better because we are now in the event program, which means better synchronizations with ConnectWise. And once we're done with those, we'll move on to Autotask for a lot of you. And if you are looking for better integrations, reach out to us. And it's going to be top of mind for everything we do. We've got all the cash we need to push into it. We've got the developers in place. We've got the projects in place. Now we're just going to be moving forward. So it's a really exciting opportunity for us. So look for us in Pitch It, look for us in Invent, and you will see some really interesting things coming out of our platform here in the next few months.
Awesome. I'm looking forward to that. And Adam said, and we've mentioned this before, about being member driven. We really are looking for input. We get some great input from you guys about the reports and the templates. We're kind of trying to put that together. There are some things, I don't know when we'll release that, but we do have, some draft copies of newer versions of reports, but functionality, we really want to enhance that. We don't want to be a static product. We definitely don't want to get stale with what we're doing. So we're looking for new ways to enhance those client engagements. And remember, at some point we may break this rule. We've already got some ideas floating long-term out there, but right now we're not a data repository. All right. So, we want to take the great data sets that you guys have and manage and work with on a daily basis, and we want to empower those to have your client conversations and really drive the strategic narrative. So anything that falls into that broad umbrella, reach out to us. Let's brainstorm. There may be something in the tool that does it now. If there's not, maybe we want to create it, and you might have a hand in designing what will really work for you. So definitely reach out to us on that.
All right. Thank you everyone for attending. We'll see you all next week.